Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And in this video, we're going to look at the film Jumanji, which was inspired in part by this. This is the children's picture book by Chris Van Allsburg. I've already covered this. I did a review on this, possibly with another book. But we're going to look at the film. And again, this film is very, very loosely based on the book, because obviously the children's picture book is pretty basic. If you haven't seen the review or don't know the book, the basic story is in this book. What are the names of the main characters? The main characters are two young children by the names of Judy and Peter. So, and those are the names who were given to the children in the film. So in this book, Judy and Peter's parents go out. They tell them behave, essentially. They end up going to the park. They find this board game, Jumanji. Read the directions, which basically says you have to play through the game to make everything go away. And they don't obviously quite understand. So you play the game and various things come out, lions and hunters and stampedes and all sorts of things. And they finish the game and everything disappears. And then they return their game to the park. And then their parents come home and they see their neighbor's kids go and grab the book. And I haven't actually reviewed that book. That story is followed by, I believe, I can't remember the name of the title because I don't actually own this, nor have I read it. I will probably review it at some point. But it is, let's see. There we go. The picture book. Let's see, where on it? Yeah. Zarartha, which let's see, was released in 2002. So that was the sequel, and that follows another two boys. I think it's space related. So Jumanji is actually at least according to the Wikipedia page, Zulu meaning many effects, though this is apparently unverified. So another thing to know, and I haven't listened to it, though I probably will, the audiobook for the book Jumanji here is actually recorded by the late and wonderful, the legend Robin Williams, who is the star of the film. Now the film, after checking the Wikipedia page here, the wonders of Wikipedia, was actually in part written by Van Allsburg. So he had a hand in writing the script for this movie that is inspired by the book. And yeah, there's very little, those are kind of the basic concept in common with this very simple black and white children's book. Now, if you haven't seen the film, it came out in 1995. I saw it in theaters, and for some reason had flashbacks of, why do I know this story? And thought strange things. Turns out I probably read the book or seen it in school. It's the book is actually, if you notice here, it's a Catacon Award winner, so popular book. So probably that's where I got it. I saw it in theaters, let's see. Yeah, the movie came out in 1995, so I would have been about 12. Or 10. No, about 95, I would have been 11. So mixing up my ages there. So I saw that in theaters. Now, as I said, the film came out in 1995, so it's a little old. And it starts off with, you kind of had this precursor where you see these kids burying this book in the woods, and you hear the drums beating, which is a pretty common thing throughout this film. So it transports back into, I'm trying to think the time period. So it's 1969. So hold on, there's strange things in my door, probably cats. Yes, there is a kitten at my door. Jasper, go away. There is a little white fluff ball sticking his paw underneath the door because he's a little white fluff ball. That is our youngest kitten, our Siamese mix, Jasper. He is being a pest. I think he's gone away. So back to the film. So it's 1969, and the main character the adult character is eventually played by Robin Williams, is Alan Parrish. And he and his neighbor girl, his parents, go out and they find this board game. I can't remember where, it's been a while. I think he finds it on his way home. He's being chased by bullies. and they play this game, and he gets sucked into the game, and his friend Judy, or no, it's Sarah DeWitt, I believe, or no, Sarah Whittle, here we are, and she runs out because she's chased by a bunch of bats. So now you jumped to modern day, at least modern day for the time, and it's 1995. Now you don't really know the back years, you don't have to know what happened to the Parishes, Alan's parents, but the house is the big mansion that he lived in has essentially been mostly abandoned. So the two kids, Judy and Peter, come with their parents have been killed in I believe an avalanche or something. They're with their aunt, who's a real estate agent, and I believe, or she does something. She buys this house, and she goes out, and the kids find the game in the attic, and they read through the instructions, and they decide to start to play. Well, out comes Robin Williams, playing the adult Alan Parrish. He has been locked in the jungle since 1969. So it is now 1995 when the characters start. Yeah, he's sucked into the game in 1969, so it's 26 years later. So yeah, it's in 1995, the year the movie comes out. So they are basically the kid's parents has died. They open this game. They roll the dice first, come out mosquitoes, and then monkeys, and then Alan, who's now played by Robin Williams, who's an adult who's been locked in the jungle of the game for 25 years or 26 years. So then they come to realize they're restarting the game that Alan and his friend Sarah started back in 69. So they have to go find her. One, Alan has to clean up because he looks like a big jungle man, because again, he's been locked in a jungle for the most of his adult life. So they go to find out basically what happened to Alan's parents, and they run into his adult friend, a black guy who had worked by the name of Carl, who'd worked for his father, and he's now working as a police officer because he basically abandoned the shoe factory. Alan's father had abandoned the shoe factory and eventually died because everybody blamed him for Alan's death. And apparently they thought his father had chopped him up into tiny little pieces. The character's response to that, it's like, my father could barely touch me, let alone cut me up in tiny little pieces. So they have to go find Sarah Whittle because they need to complete this game to make everything go away, because there's a lot of things that have come out, and they essentially need to finish the game. So they find her. She's kind of been crazy. Her friend was sucked into a board game. A bunch of bats chased her and disappeared, and nobody believed her for many years. So a lot of people think she's crazy. I think she's become some sort of psychic. So through the adventures, they're playing the game. Various things are coming out, from stampedes to various bugs to crocodiles and monsoons, and it's a very high adventure film. It's very, very fun. And eventually out comes a man who's played by the same actor as Alan's father early in the film, and he's a hunter by the name of Van Pelt, and he's hunting Alan because he's kind of still the father figure and wants him to face his demons, because that's what happens in the film. Alan's running from bullies, and his father says, you need to stand up to them. And the kid has a black eye, and he's been chased by a bunch of bullies. So they finish the game. They finally, I think Alan rolls with his mouth the final thing that gets his character onto the center of the game, and he screams out Jumanji. And instead of just stopping everything, it turns back the clock. They go all the way back to 1969. So Alan and Sarah are teenagers again, and Judy and Peter don't exist yet. So it shows them, I don't know why on earth they don't drop this somewhere else, but they drop it into the river. They board up the game and drop it into a river, and I think it kind of implies that it goes to France or something. But yeah, they drop it in the river. And so again, then it jumps fast forward to into the future. Alan and Sarah are adults. It's come back to 1995. They're married. He's taken over his father's shoe business, which is a big thing. His parents have retired to Florida because they show them on the phone. And talking about the modern shoes. And Sarah's pregnant. And Alan has hired Judy and Peter's father. And I think the very end is the parents ask about going on a skiing vacation. And for some reason, Alan and Sarah still remember what happened to them. And pretty much tell them, it's like, no, we really need you to start now. Because they have the kids at the end. So they for some reason, they still remember what happened. And they recognize the kids. And they have presents for the children that probably do or do not know that they actually exist. So it's a really good family film. I enjoyed it. It has Robin Williams in it. I mean, you can't really beat particularly Robin Williams in the 90s, which was very much in his prime, particularly when it comes to a lot of these family films. Fantastic actor, fantastic comedic timing. This is a big adventure film. It's great for kids who you just want to enjoy it. It's a good family film. There's not really much education. Though again, if you're looking for something fun and you study the jungle, a lot of the stuff that comes out is realistic. In fact, I've seen some YouTube videos where they do clips of that like alligator or crocodile in the film. It's like, yeah, that's pretty accurate because it's going to eat you. Because and they don't, I think they show at one point, they talk about the fact that with alligators and crocodiles, it's very easy and they have a lot of force when they're closing their mouths. But once they have them closed, they don't really have a lot of power to open them up again. So you're actually able to hold their mouths closed. You see that a lot. But it's a good film. I mean, it shows that monsoons, particularly in the jungle, can be very, very dangerous, and it's a lot of water. And there's a lot of different animals that can be very, very dangerous, including monkeys, which I don't like monkeys. I'm not a monkey person. I think they're creepy. Very, very creepy. I try to avoid monkeys. And this film shows some very, very creepy monkeys. But it's an extremely exciting family action movie. I don't really know anything about the weird stuff they're doing with, I think, The Rock Johnson in video games and Jack Black. I'm not a video game person. That stuff looks weird, and you really cannot be Robin Williams. And I think those films are a little bit more older teens and adults. This is very much a strictly everybody in the family could enjoy this film. I mean, it's fantastic. It's fun. Yes, it's a little dangerous, but again, you know that it's going to come out good in the end. Though I guess the twist, I mean, going all the way back to 1969 is kind of interesting, rather than just everything stopping. So again, great film. I recommend both it and this. Again, the book, very, very good book. Obviously not a huge action film. I think the lion comes out. I think there's a stampede in the book. That's what's showing on the cover. I think monkeys might come out of the book as well. Trying to think. Fog comes out. There's a giant snake. In the book, rather than the hunter, you have just a lost guide who's just kind of sitting there. And again, they do have the monsoon, flipping through the book, and the monkeys, and even in the film here. Yeah, monkeys are creepy. Always think monkeys are creepy. I think that's all that comes out besides the lion. Yeah, there's a lion in here. That's one of the first things that comes out, and it's roaring. And yeah, but again, this is the book. It's very, very simple. The film is very action-packed. It ends with you hear, two young girls hearing drum beats. I think they're on a beach. I think they're speaking French because they have to they dump the game in the river. Personally, I always wondered why on earth they just didn't keep it and drop it, go on a honeymoon to Hawaii and drop it in a volcano. But again, probably not quite as dramatic because you have to do continuing this weird board game, which apparently in further films evolves into a video game, which is weird. I've seen pieces of reviews on this and it just seems very, very weird. But again, great family film, great book to read. Not much to do with each other, but again, you really can't turn at least a simple picture book into a fully length film very easily. So they do a great way to get the point of the story across, which is read the directions of board games. Essentially, that's the point of the book. And the film probably kind of goes that way too. It's like read all the directions before you start, or problems. Hopefully you never run into a board game like Jumanji that has lions and monkeys and all sorts of interesting things, like snakes going over a fireplace. Snakes are interesting, far less creepy than monkeys, but again, you don't want them in your house, at least not over your fireplace and threatening to eat you. So, but that is both the film. I believe they bring all sorts of things in the film. I think the little boy almost gets bit and is starting to turn into a monkey before they finally end the movie. So, and turn everything back. But again, rambling a little bit. Great film, great book. Highly recommend both if you have the time. Even with your homeschooling kids, if you are studying the jungle, it introduces some interesting concepts like the various animals and the monsoons and various other things, as well as one of the other overrunning themes is parent-child relationships, particularly between Alan and his father, because partially at the end when they turn everything back, his father comes to him and realizes, so you might have told me that you were being chased like 5 guys rather than just one. And so he repairs his relationship with his father because as part of the game, he stands up and looks his father in the eye and tells the truth and is not afraid of his father anymore, kind of thing. So, great family film, great book to read, and that is it for this review. Thank you.